You know that feeling, right? When you're just faced with, well, a mountain of stuff to learn.
Oh, absolutely. Like for a new project or maybe some really complex topic you need to get your head around.
Yeah, or even just a hobby you're excited about. It can feel like you're drowning in information before you even properly start.
That sense of information overload is definitely a common hurdle.
Yeah.
Happens to everyone trying to learn something new.
Exactly. And that's really what we want to tackle head on in this deep dive. We've got this really interesting resource here. Let's call it studytick.pdf.
Hmm.
And our mission basically is to pull out the most useful bits to help you become genuinely well-informed, but, quickly and effectively.
Sort of an express lane to smarter learning.
That's a good way to put it. Specifically, we're going to break down this really crucial difference between study techniques and study strategies.
And how knowing both is, well, pretty key to succeeding when you learn.
So this source we have, it gives us definitions, examples.
Yeah, it lays out the key distinctions quite clearly. It's a good framework for understanding how we learn.
All right, let's just dive right in then. The source kicks things off talking about study techniques. So in simple terms, what are we actually talking about here?
Well, the source explains them as specific, really task-focused methods. Things you do to process, organize, and importantly, remember information while you're learning.
Okay, so like individual tools.
Exactly. Think of them as the tools you grab from your toolbox for a specific learning job. They're very hands-on, usually aimed at, let's say, more immediate goals.
Okay, that's a helpful start. Can you give us maybe some concrete examples from the source to make it really clear?
Sure. The source lists quite a few good ones. A really common one is just highlighting important text, right?
Yeah.
Helps you quickly spot the key ideas later. Then there's creating mind maps.
Ah, I like those. Visually organizing things.
Exactly, seeing the connections. Making flashcards is another classic technique, great for reviewing definitions, maybe formulas, vocabulary,
Definitely use those.
and summarizing after you read something, just jotting down the main points in your own words.
Right, to sort of solidify it in your mind.
Precisely. And the source also mentions using mnemonic devices.
Like acronyms or rhymes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Things to help you remember lists or maybe complex sequences. And interestingly, the source specifically calls these techniques because their main job is memory retention.
Okay.
Same goes for highlighting the source is clear. That's a technique too.
So these are the actions you take like right in the moment, focused on one specific learning task.
Yep. Often with a shorter term goal, like maybe prepping for a quiz next week or memorizing terms for a class discussion.
Got it. Helping you tackle a specific learning hurdle right then and there.
You've got it. Now let's
What's the strategy then? The plan for using the tools?
That's actually a really good way to think about it. Study strategies are, well, broader. They're more like comprehensive plans or systems. Yeah, systems that organize your whole approach to learning. The source points out this includes stuff like how you manage your time.
Ah, time management. That's a big one.
Huge. And setting academic goals, figuring out how to assess your own progress, understanding your strengths and weaknesses,
Okay.
and even how you keep yourself motivated over the long haul.
So it's less about the specific thing you're doing with the text or the information,
Right.
and more about the whole framework around your learning.
Exactly. The source calls them holistic.
Yeah.
They're not just about the immediate task, like memorizing a definition. They're about building long-term habits for success.
Like time management, as you said, planning things out so you don't cram.
Precisely. Or setting clear goals to keep you focused and, driven. It's about structuring your academic life, really.
That makes a lot of sense. It's the bigger picture. Now, the source mentions a specific strategy, SQ3R.
Ah, yes. SQ3R. That's a well-known one. It's a structured method for really engaging with written material.
Okay, so what does it stand for?
Right, so it's survey, question, read, recite, and review. 5 steps.
Survey.
First, you survey. Skim the text, get the general gist, look at headings, summaries.
Like a quick overview.
Exactly. Then, question. Turn those headings into questions. What do you expect to learn? What do you want to know?
Right, primes your brain.
It does. Then step 3 is read. Read carefully. Actively look for the answers to those questions you just made.
Active reading, not passive.
You got it. Step 4 is recite. After a section, stop. Try to summarize it in your own words. Out loud, even better. Don't peek.
Tests your understanding immediately.
And finally, review. Go back over the material periodically, look at your notes, answer your questions again. It reinforces memory.
Okay, wow. Yeah, I can definitely see how that's a much more comprehensive plan compared to just, say, highlighting a sentence.
Absolutely. It's a
Wow.
whole system for understanding and remembering, not just a single action. And like the source says, strategies like time management or SQ3R, they're about organizing your learning life, not just memorizing facts for Friday's quiz.
Okay, so we have these two categories now. Techniques for the specific tasks
Hmm.
and strategies for managing the whole process. What's the absolute key difference we need to remember?
Well, the main thing, as the source really emphasizes, is that techniques are about how you do those specific learning tasks. The highlighting, the flashcards, the summarizing,
The what you do.
kind of, yeah. The how of the specific action. Strategies, on the other hand, are about how you manage the entire learning process itself.
The bigger picture, how.
Exactly. Your time, your goals, your overall approach.
I think I get it. Technique is the how-to for the small bits. Strategy is the how-to for the whole project. Can we maybe use another analogy just to really lock it in?
Sure, let's try one. Think about building a house.
Right.
Study techniques are like knowing how to hammer a nail correctly, how to use a saw safely, how to measure accurately.
Specific skills, right?
Right, the individual construction
Yeah.
skills. Exactly. The study strategy, then, is the blueprint for the house. It's the overall plan, where the rooms go, what order things need to be built in, how all the parts fit together to make the final structure.
Okay. That works really well. The blueprint versus knowing how to use the hammer. Got it. Now, the source insists both are essential. Why is that combo so critical?
Because they really depend on each other. You could be amazing at techniques, maybe you make the best mind maps ever,
Right.
but if you don't have a strategy for when to make them or how they fit into your overall study plan, your effort might be, well, a bit scattered, maybe inefficient.
Like making a great mind map, but never actually reviewing it before the exam.
Exactly, or highlighting everything but having no plan to revisit it. On the flip side, you could have a fantastic study schedule, a great strategy.
Mm-hmm.
But if the techniques you're using within that schedule are ineffective, like maybe just rereading passively, your learning will be slow and probably not stick very well.
So it's like having the house blueprint, but not knowing how to use the tools properly. You won't build a very good house.
Precisely. You need the plan and the skills to execute the plan effectively.
Okay, so bringing this back to our listener, the learner, how does understanding this difference techniques versus strategies actually help you if you're trying to learn effectively and not feel so, swamped?
Well, by understanding this distinction, you can become much more deliberate, more intentional about your learning.
How so?
You can consciously pick the right technique for the specific task at hand. Okay, for memorizing these terms, flashcards are good.
Right.
And then by developing solid strategies like planning your study time, setting realistic goals, you structure your whole learning process. It feels more manageable.
And less overwhelming.
Exactly. It helps you stay on track, see the bigger picture, and avoid that feeling of just drowning in information.
And you're saying this isn't just for students in school, right?
Oh, absolutely not. These principles work for anything you're trying to learn. A new software at work, a language, even trying to perfect a recipe.
Huh. Okay, maybe even that. So any learning benefits from mixing good techniques with a smart overall strategy.
Definitely. It's about being both efficient with the details and smart about the overall journey.
Okay. Now, the source had that section, important points for the exam, but
Yeah.
you mentioned these points are actually useful for thinking about any learning.
Yeah, I think so. They give some really clear, practical guidelines for telling the difference.
What are they?
Well, it basically suggests if the activity involves planning, organizing your time, thinking about motivation, or sort of reflecting on how you're learning,
Mm.
it's almost certainly a study strategy. It's about managing the process.
Okay. And techniques.
If it's about a specific memory aid, like a mnemonic, or a particular way of reading, like maybe skimming first, or a specific summarizing technique,
Right.
then falls into the study technique bucket. It's a tool for a specific task. The source also makes the point, again, that techniques are usually for immediate tasks, not long-term stuff like, say, career planning.
That's a really helpful filter. So if I sit down and make a weekly schedule for learning Spanish, that's strategy.
Sounds like it, yes. You're organizing your time, planning your approach.
But if during one of those sessions I use flashcards to learn vocabulary, that's the technique.
Exactly. The schedule is the overall management. The flashcards are the specific tool you're using within that scheduled time to achieve a specific goal learning vocab.
Okay, this is clicking. It really helps clarify the different levels involved. So wrapping this all up, what's the core takeaway you'd want our listener to hold on to?
I think the main message is that really effective learning, the kind where you feel in control and actually achieve your goals efficiently, comes from consciously combining both.
Not choosing one over the other.
Right. You need effective techniques for the tasks, and you need smart strategies to manage the whole process. They work together, they're intertwined. You need both for success.
So here's a final thought for you, the learner. Take a second and think about how you usually learn things. Are you more focused on just grabbing techniques as you need them? Or do you tend to have a bigger picture, a strategy guiding things? How could consciously bringing those two together, the specific how-to tools and the overall master plan, really boost your ability to learn anything, master new information, and hit your goals, whatever they are?
It seems like real mastery isn't just having the tools or just having the blueprint.
Right. It's knowing how to use the right tools at the right time according to that well-thought-out plan. That combination seems key.